Boy, that was a lot to cover, but then again, we had to cover declension, so let's see if we can pick up the pace. Dealing with the equational phrase, we are dealing with the nominative plus an equaling verb. What's an equaling verb? Well, any form of is or was. Notice the verb usually comes at the end, so here, Romulus was king. Is, what is? There's your subject and your equational. The queen of colors is light, or light is the queen of colors. Remember, a nominative plus an equational verb. Order doesn't necessarily matter. Now, when possible, a predicate noun, this also includes a predicate adjective. Predicate adjective, technical term for an equational phrase, must agree with its subject in gender. So we already know it's nominative. Now it also needs to have the same gender. So we have here use or experience is a teacher. Now notice magister is nominative, masculine, because usus is masculine. While life is a teacher, life is the subject phrase, it's feminine, hence magistra is feminine. Be careful on your equational phrases. That's how they get noun adjective agreement in 90% of the time on the National Latin exam. So be aware of that. It seems easy, but you definitely want to make sure that you are set with what you need. So moving on to the next slide, which deals with how to intervene. So let's find your verb, est. Whenever you see est, you look for location or possession. So therefore, we see here, cena, dinner is not prepared. What is parata? Well, that's the equational phrase. Moving on, so where's your verb? Fuer runt. There's your third person plural perfect. And if that's plural perfect, then you are dealing with the subject phrase and equational. Do we have a subject phrase? Yes, we do. The poets. What kind of poets are they? Happy poets. Well, why is this first declension ending in this masculine? Because be pain. Poeta, parata, agricola, incola, nauta, although their first declension are still masculine. So because of this verb, because of fuerunt, we're dealing with an equational construction. We need another nominative. So this isn't, obviously not, with a short is. Long is, that's not. So you have this one or this one. If you didn't know it's third declension, you would say this one. That's the sexy distractor. However, that E tells you it's third declension, in this case 3I. Therefore, this is the prom queen. And that is the wrong one. All right, moving on. Hypothetically. There we go. Let's erase this. So where's your verb? It's eras. It's a form of sum. Therefore, what's the subject phrase? The subject phrase is found in the verb second singular you. So there's the subject phrase. So we needed a location. You were in trouble or you were trouble. Ha. So we need a nominative equational phrase because the subject's found in the verb. Well, that's not nominative. That's an accusative. That's what a lot of students are going to go for whenever they see a verb. This is ablative, so we're good there. So we have this choice or this choice, both nominative. However, look at the verb. It's singular. Therefore, the plural is out. And let's erase that. And let's move on. So we've covered equational phrases, now accusative object phrases. Now, the accusative object phrase is found as a direct object of a transitive verb. That's one that takes an object, it passes over. Interfecit, killed. Well, killing definitely takes an object phrase. Who's your subject? Romulus. Who got killed? Remum, Remus. Always go back to the nominative. Condidit, founded. Who founded? Who's your subject phrase? Romulus. What did he found? Accusative object phrase, Rome. So let's move on to some intervention. Accusative object phrases, you've got them down pretty well. There's your verb, there's your subject, there's your object. Piece of cake. Now, of course, we have Caesar praises Brutus. The dinner, the friend greets the dinner. Dinner tells you I'm tired. If I say economist, can And there we go. The friend greets the slave. So therefore, straightforward for the accusative, goes back to early chapters. Let's do some intervention. So where's your verb? laudat. If that's the verb, it's third singular. Do we have a subject phrase? Yes, we do. Canam is the accusative, and therefore it's the object phrase. I do expect you to make sure that you use these as examples on how to mark up your tests. Moving on. So, the slave who was holding the spear. Where's the verb? Holding. Who was holding? The slave. But we'll talk about that. There's a nominative. Was holding. So, therefore, what was being held? The spear. There's your object phrase. It's accusative. Now, let's see here. Hosta, that's nominative. Hostai, nominative. Plural, perhaps. We have an accusative and an accusative. How many spears was he holding? A spear. One. Therefore, hostas, the accusative plural, is out, and you're dealing with hostam. Moving on. Hypothetically, here it goes. There it is. So let's go to your verb. Laudabant, praising. Who were praising? Well, mercatories could be nominative or accusative. That's a tough one. But look at your verb. It's third plural. Do we have a plural nominative here? No, we don't. Therefore, this must be the nominative subject phrase. And ibus is out. That's an ablative. Accusative, possibly. Gladiator can't have two nominatives without a conjunction. It's going to be gladiatorem. And boom. And boom. And we're going to pause this for half a second for station identification when we talk about dative indirect object phrases. All right, let's talk about the dative indirect object phrase. You have an object, you're going to need indirect object. Here's the key. The dative indirect object phrase is going to be based on just a few things. One, you have a verb of giving, you have a verb of showing, and you have a verb of saying. So therefore, in looking at this, when you have a verb of giving, do, obviously you have an object phrase, and to whom. They gave themselves to flight. So that's another little more advanced concept. Verbs of showing, he showed the togas to the women. Verbs of saying, I say this to you. The dative case shows for whom an action is done. So when we look on a little farther, we go to some intervention. So we have here, where's your verb dabit? It's the future form of do, to give. So verb to memorize. So therefore, soon, who's going to give? Nominative subject phrase. The queen's going to give. What's she going to give? A gift. So we have a verb of giving. This is clearly not ablative. Could be ablative, but clearly it's going to be dative. So not her son. That's an object phrase. From her son would be a separation. By her son would be an agent phrase or means phrase. And finally have to her son. So soon the queen gave a gift to her son, or soon this queen gave her son a gift. So you got to remember that the two is like a limit phrase of an odd plus accusative, but you don't use it with verbs of giving. Think of it as a limited limit. All right, here we go again. Dot, gives. Who gives? The merchant gives. Gives what? A gift. Verb of giving tells you you're going to immediately need a dative. This, of course, is a truffle. Here's why. You have an object phrase already. Can't be an ablative. Got to be a dative. Is that dative? Yes. Is that dative? Yes. This was a poorly put together question from a previous student. Luckily, you don't have those anymore because you're so good at editing. And finally, we go here, gave, so returned. So you still have the D, the do, regave. Regave what? Who gave? Regave. So Horatia, regave what? Object phrase. And who to go to? To her brother. Dative indirect object phrase. What declension is this? 1, 2, or 3? The E tells you it's a third declension. Therefore, fratrem, totally out. Fratris, genitive. Fratre, ablative. Fratri, there's your dative. All right, so let's erase. Go to your mouse, and boom. All right, so that covers this second installment in Miss America. Next installment coming in a few minutes.